Golf Institute. Welcome to the 7th episode of Talking Golf with BGI and Top 100 instructor Bryan with special guest, Global Golf Ball Innovation Director at Wilson Sports, Frank Simonutti. BGI would like to thank all our incredible business partners, Wilson Golf, Flight Scope, Tour Striker, True Speed Golf, the Force Pedals, SkyTrak and SkyCaddy, Real Field Golf Mats, and more. For everyone out there, here are some of Frank's credentials. He was a research chemist at Spartek Franklin Plastics. He worked as a polymer chemist at Dunlop Slazenger Corporation. He's been with Wilson Golf since 2005, and from 2014 to present day, he is the Global Director of Innovation for the golf balls and tennis balls at Wilson Sports. Frank, everybody here at BGI, we really appreciate you for joining the show. Thank you, man, for taking the time with us.
No, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to this. This is going to be a blast. So before we get into it, hey, Wilson, everybody, is on the cutting edge of the golf ball industry. Clearly, Wilson throws a lot of resources into research and development as evidence of the innovative products that Wilson puts out. So Frank, can you tell us about the Duo Soft and the Duo Pro golf balls, which both of those got the rating of the gold standard by Golf Digest this year?
Okay, the Duo Soft Plus, this is a ball that we developed for most players. This is a good ball it's not meant for the pros. It's a good ball for most players. And what makes it this way is it's the softest feeling golf ball. We've been testing balls. I've been with Wilson for 26 years now. We've been testing golf balls for feel during all that time. And regardless if you test 90 versus 80, 80 versus 70, 70 versus 50, however, 2/3 to 3/4 of people prefer a softer feeling golf ball, regardless of handicap. What the Duo does give you as well, and we find this important for the average player, is that the Wilson Staff Duo golf ball is the lowest spinning golf ball off the tee. So it allows you to hit more fairways. More fairways makes the game more fun. I find the game way more fun off the fairway. So it's got great distance for a two-piece ball, is longer than any two-piece ball on the market. And it's a great ball at a great price. The Wilson Staff Duo Professional is basically soft feel for the better player. Now, the better players, they're going to hit the fairway. They want to be able to work the ball some. They want the increase in control around the green that you get from a urethane golf ball. The Duo Professional provides this and still provides soft feel for these players. So the Duo Professional, a great urethane ball for the better player.
Frank, I would agree with that. Kyle and I just joined the advisory staff with Wilson back in February. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Robinson, who's our local sales rep with Wilson, he was adamant about us playing that Duo Pro ball, and he got it in our hands. And I've known Jeff for a long time. He's one of the best sales reps there is in the country, and I trust what he says. And when he was that enthusiastic about this Duo Pro ball, I was like, all right, I got to give this a whirl. So we went out, both Kyle and I both played the ball, and to me, it hit longer off the tee than the premium balls that I was currently playing, and Kyle would say the same thing. And then around the green and my pitch shots had all the spin I wanted, and the putting, it felt great. I mean, I thought it performed better than the premium balls I've been playing. I absolutely loved it. So why is it, so we got the mark, out to everyone watching, the Duo Pro is $35, but yet the premium golf balls are $45 and up. Can you tell us why that is?
A couple reasons probably, but I guess the main one is that most of the premium or tour level golf balls are 4 or 5 layers. The Duo Professional is a 3-layer ball, as is a number of other urethane balls that are out there that are three-layer golf ball construction. As you increase the layers, you can increase certain aspects of the performance. You can adjust spin rate higher or lower depending on how you do your construction. You can get a faster ball as well, but it does cost more. And that is what you're paying for, the difference between, let's say, a $35.99 or a mid-30s 99 or mid-30s urethane golf ball as compared to the 4-piece balls.
Well, that makes sense. I tell you what, I mean, after that, whether I'm on the advisory staff or not, I'm getting that golf ball, and I think Kyle would agree with that. Kyle, how did you like that ball when we played?
It was, I mean, the big thing with me is just feel around the greens when I'm playing, and that's what really blew me away, and that's what I look at when I was playing a golf ball, and when I had the opportunity just to mess around the green, it just was so responsive, and it allowed me when I did proper technique. As soon as you get a ball that gives proper chipping technique every single time, then I'll pay $1 million for that golf ball. But it just was so responsive, and it didn't have that clicky sound that some golf balls would have. It had that great sound and great feedback, and I knew if I hit it, with a 60, I could put that spin on it. I knew if I would do the bump and run that I know Neil would like me to play a lot more. It would roll out real nice, and
Yeah.
it was just a fun ball play. It gave me as an amateur golfer, it gave me so much more confidence.
And that's coming from somebody who's 4 or 5, 3 handicaps. So just for you guys out there listening, that's where Kyle is. And I tell you what, it's a great ball for probably on up a little higher handicap. So Frank, I got to ask this. All right, let's say my neighbor, he's about a 20 handicap. He's going into Evan White's. Man, there's so many choices of golf balls. He doesn't know all the, Sirloin, the urethane balls. For example, how does he know what to pick from a 15-pack Wilson Ultra ball to the Duo Soft $20, the $35 for the Duo Pro? What is the difference in these balls, and how does someone like that make a choice?
That's really a difficult question because I think the industry does a very poor job of telling people what ball is right for what player. There is a company out there that will claim that the tour ball is the best ball for every player. My argument on that is no club fitter in the world would fit a 20 handicapper in blades. Why should it be any different with the golf ball?
That's a solid
different
argument.
Players.
Solid.
I like to think so. Yes.
Plus, it costs them a lot of money.
Yeah.
It is a lot of money, but it's not even that. 20 handicappers, a lot of times they have trouble hitting the fairway. They're not backing the ball up on the green. They're trying to be on the green, not necessarily hitting at the flag. I mean, great. They're aiming for it, but if they get on the edge of the green, generally they're quite happy. So what does that player need? That player needs to be hitting his second shot off the fairway. All the spin in the world doesn't help you if you're in 2 inches of rough.
Exactly.
So the idea of the Duo Soft Plus is the lowest spin rate, and to hit the ball in the fairway, you hit more fairways. As this game gets better, as he gets to a 15 or a 10, and that's not a problem anymore, there are balls to move up to. There are a lot of balls out there. We feel the Duo Soft Plus is the best and is differentiated for 2 reasons. One is the lowest spin rate for the straightest flight, and one is for the softest feel, which you brought up a moment ago on the Duo Professional. Soft feel is generally preferred. So, but the problem is the industry is not consistent in what the golfer is told. And that makes it a little difficult for the golfer.
Do you think, Frank, that is like an educational thing, or do you think we're just so conditioned as amateurs? Because again, obviously, like Bryan and Neil, that they should be playing the tour balls, and I mean they could do that. But with me and with other amateurs, do you think we're just so conditioned by seeing the pros play, and I got to play what the pros play, I got to play what they play, I got to hit these incredible, wedge shots that spin back 8 feet behind the hole? Do you think it's just education, or is it something that we could do to help people realize you don't need to play those super spinny golf balls?
I think that companies, including Wilson, need to put more effort into ball fitting. And it would be nice. Every company has their own feeling. The guys who say everybody should play a tour ball believe that. I don't. I don't think that's right. I think it hurts players rather than helps them. But yes, I think a lot of it is an education thing. I don't think a consistent story is told. So who are you going to believe? You have one company saying this, you have another company saying that. Some companies really don't even get into to the balls or say anything about any of their balls other than the tour balls. So I think it's very difficult for the golfer to really know what ball is right for him. Yeah, I guess that's all. I won't say that's all I've got to say about that, but I think that's enough for the moment.
Hey, Brian, I'd like to get some feedback on that, Brian.
Well, I just think I totally agree on the ball fitting. I think that's something that, everyone asks, what ball should I play? And really and truly, there's got to be a lot of factors with that. And I'm caught up in a lot of it. Other players always tend to steer them toward the ball that feels best around the greens as far as chipping and pitching and putting. And certainly I think that's important. And obviously if they can combine this ball where it doesn't spin off the tee and yet it feels great around the green, that's an awesome combination for most players. But I think it again goes back to I think I'd love to see technology get to the point where these companies all come out and do ball fittings on a regular basis, because I think, and it's not just hitting it off a TrackMan on the tee box. I'd like to see them. I can remember, with some of my better players when we're checking, testing wedges and everything, and take a flight scope over around the greens and get some spin factors on a 30, 40-yard pitch shot and see what the ball is doing and those types of things. And I think that's so important. And I would like to see the companies all get behind that and start to do that more, because I think it makes a huge difference.
No, Brian, you're giving me a good idea. Kyle, I think we're going to do this when we get our clubs in, is get these balls, go down there every once. We use the GC quad and just check all these spin rates and then put the data out.
I know, and that's a great point, Neil. It's education, as Frank mentioned. It really just comes down to knowing what it is. Maybe I don't need to play, the super softball. Maybe I'm putting too much spin on it. Maybe I'm playing a little softer golf ball that will help me play. I think that's a great point that all three of you guys mentioned about getting fit. It's, you spend thousands of dollars on great golf clubs but then you think you need to play this ball because that's what, Gary Woodland is playing. Maybe I need to play a high quality golf ball that fits me better. And I think that'd be a very valuable video for our viewers.
Yeah. Well, I think, the club fitting, and then if they had time to do it, the ball fitting, then I think that's coming. I think that will come, especially with the technology with the launch monitors. So Frank, you kind of answered it, but, what's the difference between a 3-piece and 4-piece? You gave us a little bit of the difference of that, but what is the point of no return on how many layers the golf balls are going to have where you lose the effectiveness?
I think that the return on what's the word I'm looking for? Excuse me. I'm hit a blank here real quick. The effect that you get with each additional layer becomes less and less. So when you go from a 2-piece to a 3-piece ball, it's a huge difference. Extreme difference. You can do a whole lot with a 3-piece ball that you can't with a 2-piece. And this is either Surlyn or urethane cover. As you go through a 3-piece to a 4-piece ball, you're looking at urethane balls primarily, and you can do a lot with the ball from 3-piece to 4-piece. You can tailor it for adjusting the spin rate. You can adjust the spin rate off the driver higher or lower, depending on what you do with your mantles. Companies that do dual core balls, you can keep the driver spin rate low by making the inner core softer than the outer core. As you continue to add layers, the layers become a smaller percentage of the golf ball, and you get a smaller difference in effect. So I'm of the opinion personally that the return on the design after 4 pieces or 4 layers really doesn't add a whole lot. Now, there are companies that do more than 4-layer balls, and I'm sure they feel differently. But in my experience, I would say that would be the difference between the layers.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And I mean, it could be just like every year when we go to PGA demo day and the new clubs, new equipment, it could be a little bit of marketing from what you're saying, like 5-6 layer ball, it's to make themselves unique, and how they market it. So Frank, I'm sure, like I said, they would have a difference of opinion, but yeah,
Frank,
that makes sense what you're saying.
do you see that as a problem in the industry where you think people are innovating just to innovate? Because you don't see Wilson coming out with like 1,000 different versions of, the same golf ball. I mean, what do you think about that?
Actually, I don't see a lot of that from our competitors either.
Good.
I don't see multiple versions over and over. And to be honest, there's only a couple balls out there with more than 4 layers. So,
Okay.
and you don't see people coming out with 7, 8 layer balls at this point.
Gotcha.
So I would say that for the most part, the industry really, based on what they designed, would agree with that if you look at the balls on the market.
Frank, all right, that leads us right into the new ball that's coming out. It's right here. I think you got a box there too, right?
Yes, I do.
So
New staff model.
you tell us all about this new staff model ball, because I tell you what, I've been seeing it on Instagram, that baller box. I tell you what, it's blowing up on Instagram. It looks so good. Just tell us everything about this ball.
Okay. The staff model ball is designed specifically for the best player. It's the best performance for the best player. That was our goal. During the design process, and we've gone through 5, maybe 6 different constructions on this ball to get where we're at now. But the initial step in design is all the machine and lab testing. Get your COR up, get your velocity up, get your spin rates. Everything you can do off of robot testing. The next step was to go to our advisory staff players, most of whom are very good players. So we'd send the balls out, we'd go out with some of them, and we'd get feedback. And where we'd find we would find the shortcomings and areas we needed to fix. So we'd go back in, give it another shot. When the advisory staff players were happy with it, then we started taking it to tour players. And tour players, obviously, they are the best players. So they are the judge of, is the ball good enough for the best players? And again, we went out, we got some feedback, and we had to go and make a couple more adjustments. This ball was in development for roughly 18 months, so which is a long development time for us. And this ball, we feel confident it is as faster than any ball out there. It's as longer than any ball out there, and it will give you greenside spin better, as good or better than every ball on the market. We feel this is the best performing ball. It's definitely the best performing ball that Wilson has ever made. We feel it's the best performing ball available.
Wow. When is this coming to market? I know it's not out on the market yet to buy. So can you give us an idea of when it may come out so people can buy it?
Right now, the ball is available on Wilson.com.
Okay.
It's a baller box. And if you order it at Wilson.com, you also get free personalization and a custom logo, or a custom number. If you want a player number of anywhere up to 4 digits, you can get that as well. We do expect this ball to be in the market end of Q3 or Q4 of this year.
Okay. But you can order on Wilson.com the baller box right now.
Yes.
Okay. Did not know that. That's awesome. Okay.
Frank, you mentioned something there. I've got a lot of players that are superstitious about playing a high number. I'm not sure what they'd think about up to 4 digits.
I was thinking about putting a phone number on there, or return to sender, and putting Neil's phone number on there, because obviously I never lose golf balls.
Frank, could I ask a question? One of the things. Years ago, I had this conversation at the PGA show with Scotty Cameron, just discussing his challenges in terms of, as a putter builder, as the golf ball changed, and it really opened my eyes. And like I said, this has been years and years ago when we were kind of coming out of the days of the wound ball, and Scotty was talking about the impact that sound has in putting, and that had been a real big challenge for him in having to change materials. So can you talk a little bit about how important the sound of the golf ball is to the player?
Well, as far as the importance, I think it's diminished over the years. But for those of us who are old enough to remember the wound balata balls, which I certainly am, that was the ball that was played on tour. Those balls were really high spinning, higher spinning than pretty much everything today. Very difficult to keep the spin rate down off the driver. And they had the thread windings on, as you know. When Tiger Woods went from Titleist to Titleist to Nike, he was playing, Nike was providing him with a Bridgestone made urethane ball with a solid core. The solid core balls, especially then, were basically taking a two-piece distance ball and putting a urethane cover over it to give you the spin rate. That changed the game from a distance point of view because they're much longer, and it changed the game from a sound point of view because they're much harder. At that time, as you mentioned, Scotty Cameron's comments, that would have been when the difference was the most apparent. But it was necessary for players to change because to keep up with the best player, you couldn't give up the distance loss from a balata covered ball to a solid core ball. The putting and the feel around the green is what changed. Now, from what used to be the tour balls would be the softest balls and everything else would be hard. Today, the tour balls are the hardest balls and other balls are soft. It's a complete reversal of what it used to be. Now, people have really, I guess, gotten used to it in putting. Wilson still believes in soft feel balls, in particular with the Duo Soft Plus and the Duo Professional. But I don't think a whole lot has been put into the putting because you can get used to a harder ball. Everything else on the performance that you've gained overshadows that.
That's awesome. And that's about the time that conversation happened. So you were spot on in terms of your analysis on when it came about. But that is interesting, and certainly it has changed over the years. And I fall into that category of playing that balata ball for a long time.
I still have a few of them. So we've had a couple people hit them in our simulator, and yeah, it's kind of funny to watch the reaction. Some guys have never played one before.
Frank,
it just feels great to hit that Duo Pro Ball. I've hit the Duo Soft too. It feels better to me off the club face on the driver, the woods, and my irons. I just like to feel it being softer.
Yeah.
And it goes. Yeah. I mean, it just feels better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is, again, I mentioned the 2/3 to 3/4 of players feel that way throughout our testing over the years.
Okay.
You know, and you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say, but there are limitations to what you can get. The staff model ball, to get the spin rate to the absolute maximum that's needed for the best players, it requires the ball to be harder. It's very difficult to do with a softer feeling golf ball.
Okay.
Frank, you mentioned like 18 months of research and development, stuff like that. And I mean, that seems like a long time, especially when you're obviously in a very, very competitive market. What are some of the first things, like I'm not expecting trade secrets, but what's like the first step that you go into the development of a new golf ball? I mean, is there like you identify a problem and you work away from the problem, or do you have like a goal in mind and you work towards a goal?
It's more of the latter. You have a goal or a target of who you want this ball to be for, and what you want this ball to do. So what are the performance requirements that you have? For example, when we came out with Duo, the idea behind the Duo, the original Duo, was to have a ball that the average player could tell the difference. The average player can't tell a difference in distance because he's not consistent enough. He's not going to tell if a ball's 5 yards longer, where off of robots, that's huge. Average player usually can't tell a difference in spin, certainly on full iron shots into the green. But any player, regardless of talent level or handicap, can tell a difference in the field.
Sure.
So what we did with that ball is we went out and tested it against all competitive balls, asked you what feels better, and then we were able to make the ball long enough that people could play it on the course, and it performed. And for a number of years before that, soft was considered short. The Duo Soft Plus is not short. The Duo Professional is not short. So the Duo Professional was soft feel for the better player. there are still a lot of players who like the softer feel of the older balls, but want the performance of a urethane ball. They want the spin rate, they want the distance. That was our target on that ball. This ball was very simply the best performance for the best players. That is what we worried about.
Gotcha. So Frank, where do you see the golf ball today?
Excuse me, I just locked up for a sec.
Like, where do you see the golf ball innovation going with how far golf balls go?
Well, the USGA does have limits on the overall distance standard. Interesting note is that nobody has ever failed the overall distance standard.
Really?
Huh.
Our goal, or my personal goal, is to fail the overall distance standard without failing the USGA velocity requirement.
Huh.
That, in my mind, would be a huge accomplishment. But distance is distance. I mean, golf balls have to have distance. Nobody's going to play a short ball. And when a ball is very short, people find out in a hurry. People aren't, they learn what the dogs are. So it's just about having the right ball that gives every attribute that each player needs.
So
Frank, I know we've talked on the show that there's, I know there's consensus among all of us that we don't want to see the USGA roll the distance back. I don't think that makes. I think golf's hard enough for everyone, and I certainly don't think as a golf fan, a spectator goes to an event wanting to see the tour players shoot worse scores and hit it shorter and things along those lines. What's your pulse on that right now? And have you had any discussions with the USGA in regard to that? And again, not asking for secrets, but would just like to hear your thoughts from the manufacturing side on it.
Okay. My thoughts personally, the USGA put out their distance report earlier this year, and it was 25 pages that concentrated mostly on the tour players. And the tour players continue to be a little longer than they used to be. If you look, however, at the average players have not gained distance in the last 16 years. The average players, there's a little variability from year to year. We'll be up a couple yards, down a couple yards. But the average players are hitting at the same distance they have probably since metal woods became, metal woods became the norm, excuse me. Now, as far as the USGA, I think that it would be a mistake to roll back the distance, because the rolling back of the distance would affect the average players way more than it would affect the professionals. Now, if they can convince the PGA of America to go with shorter golf balls for the tour events, I can understand that. If they feel they're obsoleting courses or it's just made the game a little different. But for the average player, why make the game harder?
I agree with you, and I've even argued the point with some people that even at the tour level, if you roll back the golf ball, you make it even more advantageous for the longest players out there, because they're still going to be hitting a much shorter club into the long par fours and par fives than the shorter hitters. So it goes back to, the longest players are still going to be the longest players. It's not like you're going to make the ball go shorter for the longer player and longer for the shorter player. So I really hope that we don't get on the wrong side of that. I think that would be very, very hurtful to the game of golf in general.
Yeah, I agree. Frank, and everything you're saying about the new Wilson ball, and which I've done over the years, it sounds like y'all are still looking forward to creating a more longer ball, probably even presently right now, correct?
We're always looking to improve.
Yeah.
We've got many products in development that probably toward the end of 2021 should be seen.
Okay.
A lot of exciting things to work on. And there always is, but I'm really excited with what's next. And just like the staff model, these are balls we try to have the best ball for every player. So, and we will continue. That is our goal. And that is what we will continue to pursue.
We're talking about length and stuff like that, and we're talking about materials, Frank, and 4 layer, 5 layers, 3 layers. The wound balls of yesteryear. The dimple though, that hasn't really. Has it changed that much, or obviously from a very naive person? Again, no trade secrets, but that seems to be the most iconic symbol of a golf ball are those dimples. Is there? I imagine you probably tested every variation imaginable, but is it something that you foresee a change coming someday with, you know, width and size and stuff like that?
People change the size and the depth of dimples all the time. We've done it a number of times in recent years, even though we might not change the layout. For example, the Duo Soft Plus, which is a 302 dimple seamless pattern, the current Duo Soft actually is a higher flying ball, or the Duo Soft Plus is a higher flying ball than the Duo, because the dimple pattern is designed to give you the optimum performance from the ball velocity and the launch angle and the spin rate that are created by the construction. My boss, Bob Thurman, has described this for years, as he knows way more about dimple patterns than I do. The construction of the ball is the engine, and the dimple patterns are the wings.
Huh.
The dimple patterns, just through adjusting the depth 0.005 of an inch, you can make a big difference in the trajectory of the golf ball. And the idea is to optimize the trajectory of the ball to give you the longest distance with what the construction gives you. So although the layouts may not change, and you've seen Titleist has been through a number of different dimple patterns on Pro Vs over the years. Other companies have done the same. And then those companies that maintain the patterns, I guarantee you that the patterns have changed even though the consumer doesn't see it.
So Frank, I want to know this personally because I think it's interesting. Wilson came out with that Duo softball, I don't know the year, with 29 compression. It was 29 compression ball, and I think currently, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's 35 compression.
Yes.
How did you and Wilson come up with this groundbreaking technology when everybody else is higher 80, 90, and 100?
Actually, we started looking at softer compression with the Staff Titanium spin ball back in 1998. At that time, you still had Bellata balls out there. You had wound balls. They were softer. Two-piece balls were 100 compression, 90 and 100 compression. We felt that we could make a softer feeling ball and we could make a lower spinning ball, which we did with the Duo. It was Duo Soft. Actually, it was Duo Soft Spin was the one we did that. We continued it. Smart Core, we made another adjustment. Staff 50 in 2007 was a large adjustment. And then the Duo, the original Duo ball in 2011, which was a 40 compression ball. Every step of the way, we wanted to maintain or improve performance for the players who really should be playing a two-piece ball and improve the feel. Something that, as I had mentioned before, that any player could tell the difference of. Any player could tell a ball is softer. And in particular, they notice it more if they play the softer ball and then go back and hit a 90 compression. So, but we continue to look for the possibilities of making softer balls. We have yet to hit the point where a group of players tell us the ball's too soft in our development process. When we take out balls and we ask for, someday we'll hit the point where we bring out balls and 2/3 of the players say it's too soft. We haven't hit that yet. So we will continue to look to develop in that area as well as other areas.
I think that's incredible. It's just, to break the trend of everybody out there had the 80, 90, and 100, and y'all come out with that, and y'all kept tinkering with it since 1998. And y'all stuck with what y'all thought would be the best ball, and lo and behold, you got it.
Yeah, I'm always surprised, I guess, somewhat that we're able to continue to develop better golf balls. but we always seem to find a way to make a better performing ball in some aspect, something that will help the golfer. And even with the USGA limitations, the conformance requirements, we're still able to make better balls for most players, or actually for all players.
I know we're talking all serious in here, so let's get down to brass tacks. I 3-putt a lot. I need you, Frank, to design me a ball that'll stop me from 3-putting. So is that in the cards, man? Because I need that. I mean, come
I
on,
would love to.
Come on, please help me. In all honesty, though, what are some of the more stranger requests? And by the way, I'm being dead serious. Seriously, I need a golf ball for stopping 3-putts. But a request that's been made for a golf ball, or the strangest request you've ever received for capabilities of a golf ball.
Wow, that's actually a tough one. I can't really think of anything that's.
So I just made the list, is what you're telling me. An anti
Yes,
3-putt ball.
Actually, absolutely.
When you come out with this ball next year, I want it could be called, the BGI or the Clapper anti 3-putt ball. We're going to be famous. We're going to be famous.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out how many people we could find that say they 3-putt all the time to test it.
Well, I'm not very attractive, but I could be an anti poster boy for it.
So, yeah, that's tough because it's still a traditional game. I mean, I can't think of any. I mean, we've had people ask for straighter balls. Obviously, We've had people ask for higher spinning balls.
Well, you mentioned a gentleman wanted to put before we started the show. A gentleman wanted something inside of it so he could do like some tricks.
Yeah, that's one of our guys at Wilson, our head of club design, John Fergandy. He likes to play around, have the ball on the wedge, and just to do tricks, things like that. And I believe it was him who asked for a ball that so he would stay on the club face as he flipped it over, just to make it look like he was keeping it on the club face. So yeah, we put magnets inside the ball.
I like it. It.
Didn't do much for the performance of it, of course, and it took the weight out that everybody would 3-putt, putting the weight of magnets in it, but
probably
it did make them look good with the club.
I like it.
Well, Frank, I tell you what, we all appreciate you taking the time today to talk about this. I've learned a lot. I don't know about you, Bryan. You've been around a little bit longer, but I tell you what, that was very informative. If I'm a 25 handicapper, I definitely would take something away from what you said today, and we appreciate it. And Wilson's got a great ball out there. If you haven't tried it, try it. Give it a whirl. Try that Duo Soft, Duo Pro. It's just a great ball. And thank you for joining the episode. And we want to thank BGI wants to thank all our sponsors, our business partners, Wilson Golf, Flight Scope, SkyTrak and SkyCaddy, Real Field Golf Mats, and many more. And next week, we're going to have another great episode. It'll be episode number 8. So make sure to tune in next Monday. I will let you know the time via Instagram and Facebook what time it will be, but it will be a great show. Till then, have a great week. Hopefully you get to play some golf, and we'll see you then.